Hi, I'm Lucy Santoro, guest host on Living 365 TV today. It's time to stop waiting and start living 365.
Hi, I'm Amira, guest host on Living 365 TV today. It's time to stop waiting and start living 365. Hi, I'm Priya Ali, host of Living 365 TV. It's time to stop waiting and start living 365. Welcome to Living 365 TV. I'm your host, Priya Ali. This show is designed to bring you real people, real experts, real tools to help you stop waiting and start living 365. I'm really excited about all my shows, but once again, I have another great show for you today. We're talking about how to heal your body. But before we do, I want to let you know we've got some exciting news. We are going to be at the Oakville's largest holistic wellness expo on Saturday, November the 21st from 10 to 5 p.m. Now, this is an amazing event that's taking place at St. Joseph's Ukrainian Catholic Church. You'll see all the details here on the screen. What's going to happen there is there's over 85 practitioners. You pay one price, which is, I think, it's $25 to get in. And you'll get 50 minutes of free services from over 85 practitioners. It's going to be an amazing day, and we have the pleasure and honor of covering this event. So tune in, stay tuned for the details, and join us on the 21st. Joining me today for Heal Your Body, because we all have a body that could use some healing, whether it's a simple cold or some chronic disease that you're suffering from, I want to help you raise your awareness on how to heal your own body. And I've brought in two fabulous ladies to help me do that. Joining us today is Lucy Santoro, co-owner of Craw Company. She's a Reiki master, advanced angel guidance, and healing practitioner. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, Priya.
So glad to have you. We also have joining us Dr. Amira Ayad, natural health consultant and functional nutrition expert. Welcome, Amira.
Thank you.
Now, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, I know for myself, it's been quite some time that I got into natural healing. In fact, I remember being about 14 years old, visiting an uncle of mine in Alberta, and he actually worked as a pharmacy dispensing. Well, you would know what we call it, dispensing prescriptions.
Pharmacist.
Yeah, so he's a pharmacist. But at the same time, he had this book on reflexology. And I became so fascinated at the age, I think I was like 12 or 13, about using reflexology and how it corresponded with the different parts of our bodies. And you could actually do this by pressing points on your hands or pressing points on your feet and actually promote healing naturally in your body. And over the years, I've just constantly been more and more interested in how to heal my body naturally, from things like a simple headache that I've suffered from to endometriosis and other conditions that I've had that are a little more serious. Have you had something as well that, you've worked on healing in your own body?
Go ahead.
Like maybe even just a headache or things like that?
Yeah, I started. I started as a pharmacist. I turned to natural healing 10 years ago because pharmacy didn't have lots of answers that I was looking for. My son was always ill. I was working by the book. Everything, every antibiotic, every vaccine, everything he had, but he was always sick. And once I studied nutrition, natural health, I stopped everything, and he became the healthiest boy ever. So
what were some of the things that you implemented into his care and in changing in his diet and things like that?
Basically, healthy diet, fresh fruits and vegetable. Just read the label, stops any things that have additive preservative, colors, lots of sugars, and things like that. Natural things are just the way they are created, have all the healing powers that we need.
Yeah, that's quite a concept, isn't it? That things that come out naturally are good for us.
Yeah.
They don't need enhancing. So many things that we have these days, people don't really know what the taste of natural food is like anymore, because things are so chemically enhanced or filled with preservatives. Have you experienced the same thing?
I have, and I find it so interesting that we're going back in time, that, back to tradition, back to grassroots of what we used to heal our bodies when there wasn't Tylenol or antibiotics or all of these prescriptions that are out. We're returning to whole foods and teas and herbs and just natural remedies.
Yes, because our bodies are natural,
Yeah.
right? And so it seems like it would make sense. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that, prescription drugs and prescription medicine are chemicals. And so they chemically alter the state of our body. Oftentimes, some of the things, like say, you could speak to this a little bit more, but something like Tylenol, it actually disconnects you from the pain sensor that makes your head hurt in a way. Is that true?
Yes, actually, you just shoot the messenger. You don't get the message, but the problem is still there.
And that's one of the things I really want to impress upon the viewers today, is that within your body, what a lot of us are doing through traditional medicine is that we're disconnecting from what our body's trying to tell us. And so you might get a little tick tick and through a headache, and then you ignore that, and then it knocks a little harder, and you're starting to feel some body aches, and you ignore that, and then finally you get a bam bam bam, hello, you've got cancer. Hello, you've got diabetes. So it's to really impress upon people that by disconnecting from the symptoms and the pain, we're actually ignoring what the natural signs our body's trying to give to us. Yeah.
This is basically the name of my book, Body Whispers.
The body. So that's what you're talking about.
Yes. Just heed these little warnings that the body is sending you before they turn into screams.
Yeah, before they turn to screams. That's a really important point. And have you noticed that in your own life as well? Have you ever ignored a sign?
Oh, definitely. I'm actually I'm a breast cancer survivor.
Oh, wow.
Or
Congratulations.
graduate. Thank you.
Yes.
And to me, that was a huge body scream. What was it about my life, about what I was eating or doing in terms of my lifestyle, my job, that I was ignoring?
Yeah.
And so natural foods came into play, and holistic healing and Reiki really played a role in my healing through cancer, through the treatments. Even though I chose Western medicine through treatments and chemotherapy, I supplemented that with what I believed was the core of my healing.
Yeah. And that's something that I want to stress, is that we're not telling anybody, not to seek medical attention or not to follow traditional Western medicine, but either to complement or to start to be proactive through natural and holistic methods as well, to raise your own awareness of what else is out there for you and what else can help you. Now, you're a Reiki practitioner, right, as a master, Reiki master right now?
Yes.
Were you involved in Reiki prior to breast cancer? Or is that something that you got involved in after your diagnosis?
No, I was involved in it before, probably 2 or 3 years prior to my diagnosis. And so I was just developing that as a practice and on myself, but I enhanced it during my treatments for myself. It was a way for me to empower whatever chemicals I was taking to work even better and make sure that my body could handle it on a spiritual level, on a physical level. So Reiki kind of was the boost.
Was the boost, yeah. That helped you through your healing.
Right.
Yeah. And how so? Like, how would you feel after you would have the Reiki treatments? Like, and just physically, what did you notice any physical change? Did you notice any difference after, say, a chemo treatment versus a Reiki treatment?
I think you go through such a myriad of emotions when you're diagnosed and when you're going through treatment. So Reiki helped ease my anger and find calmness in whatever higher level lesson the cancer was supposed to teach me. So it gave me an open mind. So it really I could separate myself from, the chemotherapy had its purpose and served towards my healing, and then the Reiki just opened that other side of healing, the emotional healing, the mental healing that chemotherapy or radiation couldn't do.
Yeah. So you did you went through emotional healing and mental healing as well through the Reiki treatments. Are you able to share some of the things that came up for you during that process on the emotional level and the mental level? And the reason I ask is that a lot of times, from where I practice in energy medicine, is there are often times where I can see disharmony energetically in people's bodies. And for me, just to share what it's like for me, is I see it, they look like magnetic filings, so they almost look like the energy looks a little bit black to me in different areas of the body. And at that point in time, when I see it that way, there's usually enough time for the client to be able to do some healing on the mental, emotional, and physical level so that it doesn't impede and permeate through to the physical layer of the body. Because that's how it's sort of shown to me, is that we sort of start with illness on the metaphysical, emotional level of things. And if it's left unattended to, it starts to get worse and worse, like the little taps that we say. And next thing you know, it's hit your body's layer of your being. And so I'm wondering for you, if you, as you were going through that, did you gain awareness as to maybe some of the things that led you into the dis-ease in your body?
Yeah, I think it peels away the layers, right? And that's what Reiki does, kind of takes away. So, I dealt with my anger, and I could get to the root. What was my anger really about? Was it about, the friendships that dissipated or that were lost? Or was it about, having to rearrange my life and almost start over? Or was the anger about that I hadn't listened to my body? And this was like the ultimate scream, as you say. So I really was able to peel those layers and deal with that. And then from a food perspective, chemotherapy does really weird things to your body and your taste buds, and it allowed me to get away from some of the things that I was eating, habits that I had put myself into, and I continue to heal from that. So was it the chemotherapy, or was it the Reiki that kind of opened that portal for me to discover a new way of eating and living and being, and finding my truth in that? So I think having that experience with breast cancer was a lesson in, for me, love, self-love, nurturing, and I mean, it's tied into that, it's breast cancer, and so it's part of my body, part of close to my heart. And so what was I lacking, or what wasn't I nurturing in a more positive light, that I needed for myself? And so Reiki allowed me to open that and figure that out.
Yeah, and I noticed too, cancer itself is rampant these days, but particularly my awareness, because I've got some family members afflicted by it as well, breast cancer just seems to be on the rise. And I find that from a holistic and a metaphysical perspective, as you say, our breasts cover our heart. And they're a sign of our femininity and our feminine energy. And when we're out of balance with that, I feel that it tends to be one of the areas that we actually do start to change the energy. There's a bit of toxicity that comes around in that area. And, especially with the heart, because we tend to be very stingy with the self-nurturing as women. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, I see a common denominator in many of breast cancer women that I see is lack of self-nurturing. They're giving, and they don't allow themselves to nurture themselves, or don't allow this self-love and self-care.
Yeah. And it's not to say, because I don't want to confuse anybody, that I'm saying, we get sick or we want to be sick. It's not like that at all. It's what happens though is sometimes there are illnesses that we manifest. They can serve us in other ways. So I notice for myself personally, I have adrenal burnout, which that's the only excuse that I will give myself for being able to rest. I can remember back to being pregnant, I think it was with my third or fourth child, and every day in the afternoon I would get a debilitating headache that I could not function, and I would have to go to bed, shut the doors, the lights out, and I would sleep for 2 hours and then I'd be okay. And one day I realized that I was just simply tired, and that I maybe didn't need the headache, and if I would just take the nap, I wouldn't have to have this. But as a woman trying to function with 3 kids, like, I can't nap. I'm Superwoman. Superwoman does not nap. She does not need nap. She does not need rest. She does not need food. She does not need time for herself. So my body said, hey, listen, sister, here's how this is going to go down. We're going to knock you out with a headache so bad that you will have no choice but to get the rest that you need.
Right.
And once I made that connection, it changed for me. I was having a lovely nap. I was much more pleasant. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't resisting. And the headache stopped. So again, do you notice that with people?
Yes, I always say that there is an emotional or spiritual root of illness. There always something that related to how we think, how we perceive our world, how we process every challenge and every stress. We all have stresses and challenges, but how we process it, how we deal it with helplessness or victimhood mentality, or do we actually see it as something that help us to grow, a lesson? So this is very critical in many cases.
Yeah, definitely. And there's some of the things that I've observed through my practice over the years. I find autoimmune diseases, a lot of people with autoimmune diseases, I have some days are good and some days are bad. So I find these are people that have difficulty coping with the demands they've either placed on themselves or the demands that they feel are placed on them. So autoimmune disease gives them that, I'm not having a good day today. I can't do this, or I can't be pleasant, or I can't cope with this. I'm not having a good day today. But when they are, well, I'm having a good day today, right? Versus something like, I have a client right now I'm working with who's anorexic. She's starved for love. She's so starved for love that she's now starving her body to match this starvation of love, right? So it's all these kinds of things, these themes that kind of go with it. Really interesting, because she mentioned to me there's someone in her family who has breast cancer. Now the breast cancer has hit stage 4 and spread. Now she's been suffering from anorexia for 10 years. She's 22 years old. And she says, everybody has rallied around my aunt with the breast cancer. They've all run to her. Everybody's taking shifts. She said, I was in the hospital for a year and no one came to visit me once.
Wow.
Right? So it creates the experience, because someone who is starved for affection and attention and needs love is continuously will be so, versus someone who needs the love and needs the attention. She'll get this disease back again, and then everybody rallies around her. It begins to create these patterns where people are like, I need this disease to be who I am or get what I need. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you've seen that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy for us, women, men, anybody, to become very numb to what's really going on in our lives. And so having a dis-ease is just
A wake-up call.
It's a wake-up call, or it's just another reason to stay numb. I don't have time now to deal with my loneliness or my lack of feeling love, because now I have to deal with cancer, or now I have to deal with anorexia, or I have to figure out how to eat or how to function. So there's no time to reflect and figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And so we're just it's a numb society. We're really just coasting through until we get hit. And sometimes we get hit with cancer or an autoimmune disease, and it wakes us up, and now we want to discover who we are and what we want and what we've been missing in our lives. And other times it's just, I need to get through this cancer so that I could go back
and do the thing that got me the cancer in the first place.
Exactly.
Like, what the heck?
Exactly.
Right? Because we run the patterns again.
The point that you made is very critical here, is because when we say this, some people misunderstand it as this, we created our disease. So it's very important to stress on the fact that no self-blame, no at all. So we it's not that we create a disease, it's just we have to connect. As you said, we're numb. We need to connect more to our body signs, to listen to our heart, to our body, and so we can understand what's going on. It's not just we created that.
Yes, absolutely. And I wouldn't want anybody to walk away thinking I'm telling you it's your fault that you have this. What I mean by that is that through not listening to the signs of our body, these things will develop, and it's not that you want it or you create it, because I know that it's not what people intend to be sick. But it's just the way that sometimes these are the things that happen or present themselves for us in order to support some of the patterns that we're running and the beliefs that we may have about ourselves, that what we can't cop out to, I can't cope with this. We're not allowed not to cope here in our society. It's not acceptable, really, that we shouldn't be able to do it. We're very much a yes society. Like, what do you mean you can't do it? Find a way. I do it all the time. I'm like, there's got to be a way for this to get done. There's got to be a way, right? So we're not really okay with the word no.
No,
It's
we're
really
not.
a bad word for a lot of us.
We're not.
And the other one is the F word, feel. We are not okay. Yeah, that's the F word in my world. Feel, right? Even I could coach for years. I could coach a lot of people. People ask me about my feelings. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to go there. I can help you with your feelings. We don't need to talk about mine. Right? So because feeling can be uncomfortable, and that's what happens with disease. We don't want to feel the discomfort. So it's what can we do? What quick drug can we take? What quick fix can the doctor give me so that I don't have to feel it? But the feeling is there to help us. Yeah?
Yeah.
You're seeing the same things.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Now, when you're, what's the look of your practice right now? What are you seeing the most of in terms of disease coming towards you? Is there a trend that you see at all, or something more than the other?
So my practice is just beginning. I'm just kind of starting out with the clientele. I spend a lot of time with breast cancer graduates and people going through treatments. But so my clientele, so right now I have, some clients who have had breast cancer and others who are just really stressed out. And I had a client a couple of weeks ago said, you just need to get rid of my headache. And in conversation and in the treatment, so many other things have come up, emotional stuff, relationship issues. She had an accident years and years prior and almost lost sensation in her body and in one side of her body. And it was something that I had no idea of before the treatment, but in treatment, I felt that energy there and I thought it was like stagnant. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, wow, I can't believe that you felt that. And it was just, so it's really just a pattern of stress right now. And I think stress and how we deal with it is the catalyst for so many things.
So many things. Stress will kill you. It will kill you. And the thing with stress is that I've learned, and more so recently, is good stress can kill you, because our bodies respond. In my own personal life, I've recognized that my feeling of anxiety, the actual physical feelings of anxiety, are very similar to my feelings of excitement.
Right.
So depending on where my brain and my mindset goes with it, I can either be like, or I can be happy about it, right? And even in like love situations, so I noticed that I would get almost anxious in a situation where I was feeling love because it created the same physical symptom for me, like the butterfly in the stomach. So you could call that a butterfly in your stomach, or you could call it a knot in your stomach. Like you just know there's something going on down there. So I think that also people don't realize that good stress can also take a toll on you, on your body. It's still stress, right? Because maybe you can explain this a little bit more, but physiologically it starts to take a toll on your adrenal system and the chemical reactions that go on. It still causes that reaction in your body.
It's still the same reaction, yeah. And the body doesn't differentiate if it's real stress, real threatening out there, or it's just something that we perceive into our minds. It's the same reaction go on, the same chemical are secreted, the same cortisols that raise our blood pressure, raise our blood sugar level, and the depleted energy, the fatigue, the mental fog, all these symptoms are the same.
Which leads me to my theory as to why men run from love. Because it's like, they're like, oh God. Because they're actually feeling a good stress. Now, some women are runners too. We've seen Runaway Bride, we know. But generally speaking, with emotion, a lot of times for men, they run from that because it's the same kind of feeling. That's my theory.
Yeah. Or
we can leave it to be tested.
Yeah. Or it's feeling in general.
Yeah.
Right? If it's an emotion or a sensation we're not comfortable with, we run. And then again, we go back to that wall.
It's fight or flight,
love.
right?
Yeah.
It's your fight or flight reflex that says, okay, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Do I fight it? Do I flight from it? What do I do from this?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely just wanting to let people know to get more in tune with their bodies and to understand, really get to know your body. I partnered with a functional medicine doctor about 3-4 years ago. And one of the greatest gifts that he gave me was the awareness of my body and to learn to guide it myself. Because as a doctor, in any capacity, the doctor is going based on what you tell them, right? And so they can only, based on their expertise, their experience, their knowledge, their own personal experience, they'll then make an assessment. I mean, some things are cut and dry with testing, but other things are sort of a, well, let me treat the symptoms and see how it goes type of thing. But when you really get connected with your body, which I did, is it really empowered me to say, I need this, I need that, and I need, because I know now that, you know, going towards that time of the month that my iron levels drop a little bit, I need to take a little bit of an iron supplement. That I can tell that, because I suffer a little bit from my thyroid, when my voice starts to drop and my throat's slightly sore, I realize I'm doing too much and I need to boost that up a little bit. So to really get in tune with your own body is, if I could give one piece of advice to people, is really get to know who you are and know your feelings, because it makes such a huge difference in how you can heal yourself and embrace your own healing. Now,
Awareness is, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, awareness is the first step in healing.
Yeah.
Being aware of what's going on, this is the first step.
Yeah, you can't fix what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it really does help. Now, what would be the second step? Now that you've called step numbers.
Okay.
I'm gonna put her on the spot.
Well, I believe in both sides. So I believe that no supplements or herbs can fix a woman's broken marriage or broken heart.
Right.
But at the same time, if the biochemistry of the body is not functioning properly, all the emotional healing won't fix it. We need both sides.
Yes.
So we need to go both directions. We need to see what's going on. And I don't really like labels. We're now expert at labeling our disease.
Yes.
But we failed miserably at healing them. So it's not about labeling. It's about seeing what part is not functioning properly. As you said, a functional
Yes.
medicine practitioner is. This is what they do. It is what we do in functional nutrition. What function is not working properly and how to boost this.
Yes.
With biochemistry, with supplements, with herb, with nutrition, and with the emotional and spiritual healing, both sides.
That's a really good point that you made about the labeling, because once you begin to identify with a condition or a disease, your body's physiology now adapts to support that label. So I noticed when you introduced, you talked about being a breast cancer, you changed it after. You said, so first you said survivor.
And then I said graduate. And
Yeah.
I think because not only, it's my belief that people survive so many things.
Yeah.
And we have just labeled cancer as surviving, but we survive heartbreak, we survive broken marriages, we survive all sorts of diseases. And so for me, it's, I use graduate, and I heard that from somebody else who, so I can't take credit for the word, but
No, that's okay.
I really resonated with it. She said that she felt she was a graduate because I got through it. I went through the treatments, I went through the healing, and I got through it. So I can share the story now. And so there was lessons. It was like schooling.
Yeah,
the school of
and
cancer.
that really does change things, because having I was sexually abused as a child. I remember going to one of the workshops I went to, and I introduced, or I explained myself as a victim of sexual abuse, and she said, if you identify with being a victim, you will consistently be a victim. And it was true for me, because in other areas of my life, I felt like a victim. So then I went to being a survivor. And even that, okay, yes, I had survived it, but I was still attached to that, to the sexual abuse. So what I went to is a woman who experienced something
Right.
that gave me experience, learning lessons, allowed me for growth. And that really helped me to detach from that situation and not carry those traces with me all the time.
Right.
And I think that's just a very valiant point that you make, is that when you label yourself as I'm diabetic, I'm a breast cancer patient, or whatever it is, you identify with that and you get into that mode of being that.
You attach to it so much that you become the diabetic.
Yeah.
Or you become the cancer, and your whole life is the cancer, or the chemotherapy, or the surgery. And I just, for me, I didn't want to play that role. Like,
Yes.
if if my life is a movie, that is not the role I want to play.
We're connecting, like, because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's almost like an actor getting into a role, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you are now diabetic girl, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and everything will go into supporting that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to, the realities of certain things that are symptoms that are taking place in your body are taking place. But I really want to encourage people to open up beyond the labels of what's going on in your body and be open to it being just a symptom. I'm a woman or a man with this symptom, and I'm working towards finding my way through it and learning from it and how I can heal it and how I can embrace it.
Yes, I totally agree. It's like this victimhood mentality. I
Yeah.
embrace this and just live it. Yeah, we have to ditch this mentality and start.
Yeah, and then also the fight, right? Because we're fighting, I'm fighting the battle of cancer, I'm fighting this, I'm fighting that. And I find that it's the same thing, it comes back down to the feelings again. It's like, I don't want that. Instead of embracing what it is and really acknowledging and becoming one with what kind of got you here, and being gentle with yourself and not blaming yourself and knowing it's not your fault, that you're human. And as a human, as we experience things in life, we may respond to it in certain ways, our body may respond to it in certain ways, our emotions may respond to it, that maybe leave us not in the strongest, most superhero optimal state we think we all should be in. It's what makes us human.
Yeah. And so getting all of the these ailments, these diseases, it isn't punishment.
No.
Because then that just creates another reason for me to be a victim, or for you to be a victim. Like, oh, now I have diabetes, now I have cancer. It's an awareness. It's an opportunity to explore outside of that. And then if we tear down that layer, is it just the cancer? Or you mentioned thyroid. Is it the thyroid?
Yeah.
Or is it something deeper?
Totally.
Or more spiritual that needs the nurturing? And not just, I need to rest more, I need to eat better for the thyroid. Is it
Right.
throat chakra, the way that we communicate? Are we voicing our truth? And exploring that, right? Tearing down that wall of numbness to get to those core issues, those core challenges, ailments that we're feeling within. And is that going to then heal those physical diabetes, thyroid,
And
cancers?
so this is what works in conjunction and alignment. I just said I've never personally been able to say, you know what, I'm going out, I'm taking my mind with me, I'm leaving my body and spirit at home. They all go with you. They're all a part of us. So in what you're doing, what you're saying is balancing out certain things through traditional medicine, through herbs, through supplements, through healing, through energy. It's a joint effort. Everybody needs attending to. Your mind needs attending to, your body needs attending to, your spirit needs attending to. So often we get the mindset or your spirit and you're trying, but we're not doing the things for our body. Or so often we're doing the things for our body, but we're not healing the spirit and the mind. So you kind of can't have one without the other, because they're in unity. And so if mind goes over here, body and spirit are like, hello, we didn't get the memo that we were supposed to go. Nobody's given us the access code to get over here. We're stuck back here, or vice versa. And that's one of the things I'm seeing. So this is where we get these either chronic or repeat illnesses or things that come back on us because we haven't fully aligned with the healing. We've only healed in some 1/3 of our being. And that's inevitably going to recreate the symptoms again.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So what I would like to do, because I think we've given people a broad awareness of how that all happens, but to share some events or some stories or experiences that you've had either personally or with clients where you've seen successful outcomes with holistic healing. Do you have anything? I'll let you think about it for a second. I know that I do something called a life activation that is designed to awaken the spiritual DNA within the system. I had a gentleman who'd been a coaching client of mine, a corporate client, and mostly focused on how to improve his business. But I was leaving to go to Bali on one of my tours, and I don't know, I just had this feeling that I needed to do this activation on this gentleman. And he trusts me enough, guy 6'2", big guy, trusts me enough that when this little blonde 5'2" says, come into the office and do this thing, he'll do it. So he came in, and I performed the activation. As I was doing it, I felt the side of my face like this twitching. And I was like, okay, you know, when you work in energy, sometimes things happen. I just sort of go with the flow and continue doing it. And at another point in time, I noticed a tear just streaming down one side of it, the same side of his face, at another part of the activation. And so after I sat him down after and to, you know, ground him and discuss the experience, and all of a sudden his face started twitching here the same way that mine was. And then his face started to get very red. And I said, your face is twitching on the left. And he said, that's not possible. I said, what do you mean it's not possible? He said, I had an accident at the age of 4. I was run over by a tractor and I was left paralyzed on the left side of my face. And I haven't had any feeling or movement on the left side of my face. He said, you could take a razor and cut me. If I'm shaving, I can't even feel it. And within a half an hour, the sensations in his face came back. This color came into his face. And he started to feel he could smile and his mouth would actually move. And he was actually feeling on for the first time. He walked outside and the sun was out and he said, I've never felt the sunshine on this side of my face. Now that was 2 years ago and I just saw him this week, and all of that healing has still been retained. So he was 43 years of no sensations, no movement on the left side of his face, and within the course of this treatment, this has happened for him.
That's amazing.
Right? So I'm sure you guys have, so that's a very extreme case, but I'm sure you've seen other instances where through nutritional changes or other holistic modalities that you may offer, that you've seen results. Can you share something?
So for me, it's personal. I went through chemotherapy. So when I went through chemotherapy, I was doing self-Reiki, and I had friends who would perform distance Reiki on me. And so when I was done, they did the tests, and I had surgery, and the lump that they had found was, they couldn't detect it. And so my doctor had said at the time the chemotherapy was 100% effective, which he said happens only 1% of the time. And I feel like I beat the odds, and it wasn't just the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I really feel like it was the Reiki that supplemented the healing through that process. So for me, it's a little miraculous to have that. I don't follow statistics that much, and I'm not a statistic. But to me, it was like, that was empowering, saying something is going right. And I'm to get through this, and this is helping.
Definitely, absolutely. How about you, Amira?
Well, I had a client. She was a high school teacher. She was very cheerful, smiley, lovely lady. This is from the outside. This was the pictures they saw. From the inside, actually, she was a very unhappy person. One night, the serenity of the neighborhood was disturbed by sound of an ambulance carrying her to the emergency room. She needed a coronary bypass surgery. And after that, when she came to me, she wanted help in nutrition and diet, something to support her heart and blood vessel and things like that. And we worked on that, and this has helped. But what really made the difference, when we dug deeper into why she had this, and this lady was, for the past 15 years of her life, she was nurturing her husband, who was suffering from bipolar disorder. And she loved him dearly. He was a good man, but this isolated her from the society, from social life, from any me time, from nurturing herself. And this finally took it on her heart. So when we worked on this, when she actually ditched the victimhood mentality that we were talking about earlier, and she started to add little joys and pleasures in her life, she started to go out and see friends. She didn't feel guilt when before she felt guilty when she left him, but she actually improved, and surprisingly his case improved, because now that she fed him herself, she was able to nurture him better, without this feeling of I have to do this, but from point of love, not from point of
obligation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's great. It really does make a difference when you can actually take care of yourself, the way that you're able to just change the life around you. So we can't we can't physically change other people, but by, it's the old saying that Gandhi so profoundly said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And by bringing that level of health and self-care, you actually are able to demonstrate and emulate that, and people around you will change. I know, even with my children, I was doing everything for them. I was, if there's food on the stove, they would eat once, they would eat twice, I would eat, and just enough to make sure that they had what they needed and that they had extra, they had more than they even needed, and I would maybe sometimes not have enough. And I really had to start sort of putting myself at the front of the food line, so to speak, in order to make sure that I was fed, in order to continue to feed them. And they learned to change, and they learned to be stronger themselves. So sometimes, when we go into these episodes of caregiving, we give too much of ourselves, and it doesn't allow that person to kind of do some of that for themselves. And it's an easy way to fall into. It's an easy trap to fall into. But I definitely want to ask you to give one piece of advice that you can give to the viewers, something that they can take away that you think is important.
Listen to your body whispers. Connect with your body, connect with your feeling. And when you start to listen deep inside, our body knows exactly what it needs to heal. We just need to listen, connect, and we will be able to give it what it needs.
Thank you. Lucy?
I would recommend that we go into that place of discomfort and allow ourselves to feel and tear down those walls that we've created, and open ourselves up to all of the possibilities of feeling good things and maybe not so good things. But just to tear down that wall allows you to feel what isn't good, but the better part of that is it allows you to feel what's fabulous. So just allow yourself to be uncomfortable.
Thank you. Now, what's up and coming for you, and where can people find you?
Well, I just released my book in April, Body Whispers, and I'm holding a workshop. I'm teaching people how to actually listen to their body whispers. This is an 8-week workshop.
Oh,
It
wow.
will be in Joshua Creek Heritage Arts Center in Oakville.
Okay.
And they can find all the detail on my website, amiraayad.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lucy?
So you can find us, we're on Facebook, The Craw Code, and our website is thecraw.co. October is breast cancer awareness, and it's also breast reconstruction awareness. So I'll be participating in a conference that's going on, the Life After Breast Cancer Conference in Hamilton at Leuna Station. So I'm participating in that as a member of the committee, and also doing an awareness day in Brampton for breast reconstruction. So very involved in that awareness month, and having some promotions for breast cancer graduates in terms of Reiki services, etc.
Fantastic. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Viewers, your body is yours, and we really encourage you, as my guests have said today as well, please be aware and get in touch with your body. Start learning what your body feels. Start learning what your body is saying. Start listening, as Amira has said, and stay connected to who you are. This will help you to really have the optimal body by feeling what's going on in your emotions, feeling what's going on in your body, and even feeling what's going on in your mind. I encourage you to really take time for yourself, both of you, both the women and the men out there, because you gentlemen too, you work long hours, hard days, providing for families out there. Really take some time for you and support each other out there. Help people take time for themselves. Encourage them to make time for themselves. Teach your children to have some time for themselves and really get connected with their bodies. As always, thank you for joining us. We'll hope to see you out at the Oakville Holistic Wellness Expo on the 21st. We've got some other great things coming up, and we want to remind you to stop waiting and start living 365.